Welcome to Home's Room. Just like homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin. And welcome back for the last episode of our Halloween series on Home's Room. I didn't have a spooky noise this week because I could think of was thunder, and I didn't want to like clap in your ears. I feel like that would be terrible. But yeah, we're trying to be courteous because the last few have been whatever. So yeah,
you might have to put jump scare warnings in some of those, Matt.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I like it. Maybe if my co-host continues to badger me about it, we'll get video up and I'll just like throw in some jump scares on these ones specifically just to get you.
Surprise.
So we got our last Halloween episode, and this one's gonna be a fun one. I saved my 2 scariest stories for this one, so there's that. And then my lovely co-host came up with an idea after we recorded the last one, and I'm super excited about it. So yeah, I don't know. That's what we got, I guess.
Yeah,
for this episode.
I'm going to be sharing with you what the internet says are the top most popular 6 haunting stories, but I have to say I don't 100% agree with it, but we'll get into it. Apologies in advance if any of our fabulous, wonderful, tropical, angelic sunfish of listeners can hear my toddler currently screaming in the background here at Home's Room. You know, we keep it on brand. We keep it hella real. And my now 2-year-old, she just turned 2 this past Saturday, really is not agreeing with having to go to bed. But it is super on brand with what I decided to dress up as today, which for those of you who are not seeing a video or whatever, I am dressed up today as the scariest thing I can currently think of, which is a sleep-deprived mother of 2 under 2.
I love it. I was waiting for it.
I made no attempt. I have 0 concealer on. My hair's air dried from the shower, and I'm absolutely exhausted. So, boo.
You can't see this. And if I get badgered enough to put these up in their video platform, which we do have a YouTube, it's the Home's Room podcast, just like everything else. But there's only like a promo thing on there because that was the only thing I've been like satisfied to put on there. Everything else, it's like, I don't like that, or I don't like this, or I have to edit that. But I just want to say that if your hair is air dried from like your house just walking around, you must have like great circulation in your home because that looks good.
Man, I showered like 2 hours ago. You're good. But like, yeah, usually I put in some actual effort, so maybe I'm kind of like taking the easy way out. But yeah, it's been 9-month-old is still teething, and Ava just started her 2-year-old class today, which has older kids. Then obviously she's now the youngest one in there. And I walked in to drop her off in there, Matt, and I was like, oh my God, this is a freaking shit show. Like there was a little boy that had just grabbed the tissue box and started just yanking all the tissues out of it. And the teacher, Miss Nikki, was like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is just some of the craziness that is the twos room or whatever. And I just like walked up to the boy. I was like, give me that tissue box. Like, what are you doing? Pick those up, put them in the trash. What are we doing here?
Hey, buddy, I don't know if you knew this, but I used to be an early education teacher. So I did everything from infants all the way up to school age kids. So I was in rooms with 2s. I was in rooms with like the 3.5s potty training and all that kind of stuff. And then yeah. So I know how it goes. And when you're a frazzled teacher in those moments and the parent comes in and they're like, what's going on? That's like your worst moment of like, God damn it. They think I'm incompetent and they think their kid is probably swinging from the ceiling as soon as they walk out.
Honestly, Matt, I've told all of her teachers several times, like, I struggle to negotiate with 2 of these tiny little terrorists. I can't even imagine what it's like doing it with a room, like an entire room full of, to be outnumbered by tiny drunk little humans. But, and this is just another fun moment of parenthood where as soon as we, she loved her old classroom. She was super into a routine. She knew exactly what to do, where to be, when to go. And here we are having to change things up again. So it's going to be another fun wave of likely behavioral issues. It's going to be another fun wave of things that she's going to see other kids modeling and come home and try to do. And she's already very rebellious and strong-willed and 100% gets it from her mom. So
on the nose.
I keep telling people I'm just cashing in on all kinds of karma, you know?
Yeah. Karma is not a cool breeze for your hair on the weekend, apparently.
And it's definitely not a cat asleep on my fucking lap these days. Karma is my toddler trying to test crazy yoga poses while I'm trying to change her diaper. So
yeah. Yeah, been there. And I often think, like, do I want another one? Do I want to try for a boy? And then I think two thoughts. Hell no, I don't want to deal with a toddler again. And I don't want 4 girls in my house. I really don't.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's definitely something to be, conscious about. I think we got very lucky with one boy, one girl, and 2 weeks after my youngest, my son was born, my husband got the snip. So we are just here chilling, trying to survive our last round of teething we'll ever have to do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Congratulations. And a special shout out to our listeners. I've been kind of trying to pay more attention to the analytics. I started this and I didn't really, it sounds really bad to say it this way, but I didn't care how many people listened, especially after I got started, because I just enjoyed having the conversations that I was having. And if I got like 5 like consistent listeners, and those listeners listen every week and they give me feedback or they talk to me about what they like, which, some people have been doing, it's like, that's awesome. I feel like I'm doing something. If anybody that listens to this, even if it's one person every freaking 3 weeks, takes something from one of these episodes, it's like, damn, that's good, because I enjoy having these conversations, and I'm going to have conversations with people all day, every day anyway. So recording them and maybe making some sort of change in the world is awesome. So yeah, but I wanted to give a shout out because Courtney found it really interesting that we have a listener, at least one in Australia, at least one in Jamaica, at least one in Spain, and at least one in Switzerland. That blows my mind. So if you're still listening, if you didn't just like click that first episode and say, what the fuck? Or whatever, however you would say that in whatever the languages you're speaking are, that is amazing, and I appreciate you. I also just found out that, I don't know if you knew this, because I shouldn't say this because we're hosted by Spotify, but I listen primarily on Apple. I listen to some podcasts on Spotify. I listen to my music on Spotify. But I just looked, and we are at a 5-star review rating with 10 reviews. Not 1, not 2, but 10 reviews on Spotify. And
shout out, Matt.
I think that's awesome. I was not aware of that until today. I looked the other day, and we had I think we had 6 reviews. So just in like a week, 5 more dropped in, and I think that is really cool. And then same thing with 7 ratings on Apple. We're 5 out of 5, and we got somebody that like just did one on the 7th that I'm going to start trying to read these. If you guys drop reviews, I'm going to start trying to read them. So I'm going to shout out your name specifically only because like it's not a thing that I've announced yet. So I'm going to let you be anonymous. So anonymous listener, motivational and fun. Every week I come to this podcast, and every week it leaves me motivated. So many creative people doing awesome things. Highly recommend. Thank you for that. And just so everybody's aware, I mentioned it like 2 months ago, a month ago, sometime. I don't know. We record and post and all sorts of things. So it's out there somewhere. But I ordered stickers. I paid for them. I'm just waiting for them. So if you want to leave a review and send me your address, take a screenshot of your review, I was going to mail you a sticker. And then
Hell yeah.
I'm super excited. So thank you. Keep those coming, because like I said, that's how people find us. We also just started a Threads. This is going to be like super in the distant future when this airs. But if you haven't already followed the Threads account, follow the Threads account. I think I'm going to use it for, polls, asking questions, getting engaged with you, because that's kind of how it is. But also I might post like our show notes, or like what the questions are for the coming up episodes, and maybe some teasers about who we're doing an interview with. So give us a follow over there. I just wanted to shout out all that kind of stuff, because I think that it's worth it. I think that we are definitely enjoying what we do. I can't think of like a better way to highlight my Monday besides an episode of Home's Room in the morning, and a conversation with my buddy Kaitlin in the evening.
Your
So
homie, what's up?
yeah, my homie. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I just, like I said, I'm gushing. I'm super excited, and I was feeling kind of a little unmotivated last week, and after a friggin' tournament and all that stuff, and having the conversation with you definitely like picked it up. And an episode with one of my really good friends who I lost contact with, and we found our way back to each other, aired today, which is Sean from What the Bleep. And if you're a gamer, I think you should check that podcast out. It's fun, and like I learned stuff about games that I had no idea about. And it's one of those podcasts that you could put on, and it's such a good conversation between three people. You don't have to follow every bit of the conversation. You can just enjoy it. So yeah, that was fun.
Shout out to the gamers. I just started learning how to play Minecraft on PC.
Yeah, there you go. See?
I'm a very serious gamer girl. No.
So moving from very serious gamer girl to very spooky stories. Are you ready?
Let's go. Okay, so this is a list of the top.
Whoa, you're skipping ahead. We got my scary stories.
Okay, let's go. Okay, you're really gonna set the tone though with like some freaky shit that's gonna actually scare me, and then I'm gonna have to go. Fine, go ahead.
Maybe, I don't know. You're the one. You're already burning candles back there. It's only a small step from that to everything else.
So. I had to set the tone, set the mood, or spooky.
I bet you didn't think I peeped that, but I saw it immediately, and I was like, I like it.
It's back there for sure.
So, do you want the neither one of these has a witness, and this is, like I said, I always try and use my stories that have witnesses when I talk to people, but you've heard enough of these stories now that I think you legitimately got a tone for like, I've had enough stuff happen. So we're going to jump into like the deep stuff that's happened to me personally, especially when I'm by myself, and it's not fun. I just started a book today about like murder that happens in a movie theater, and I wasn't going to lead with this story, but because of that, I'm going to lead with this story. So I worked at a movie theater. It's where me and Courtney met. So when you clean theaters, sometimes you are good at it and you clean them faster by yourself than other people would clean them together. So you send some of your people over on one side, and then the faster person cleans the theater by themselves. So that's what happened. We had one theater that was like notorious for like people feeling creepy and feeling weird. My sister had an experience. My Courtney has had experiences in that same theater. Just kind of was a thing. People used to joke about that end of the building being haunted, just like as kind of a joke. But I don't think it was a joke. I think that was their subconscious telling them that some fuckery was about. And I was cleaning the theater that like gave me the most uncomfortable feeling of any of the theaters in the building. I was cleaning it. It's by myself. Not all theaters, but this one particularly has an exit door behind the screen. So like it's almost like a little hallway. And then if you were to turn immediately left, once you get behind the curtain, that's where the trash can's stored. So you pull out that trash can when you're cleaning the theater, and then you throw all the trash and popcorn that people should be picking up that they don't. You pick all that stuff up, you throw it in that trash can, you push that trash can back behind the curtain. There's a exit door, like I said, so bright red exit sign, because it's a dark theater, so you would want it illuminated, so hopefully people don't get trapped inside and die. So I went behind that curtain to grab the trash can, and when I reached for the trash can, I didn't feel it, so I reached a little bit further and I still didn't feel it. So then I turned around, like maybe somebody already pulled it out, or maybe it's not in the right spot. Let me go to a different spot in the curtain, because sometimes it gets pushed down further and you can't see back there. So as I turn around, the glow from that red exit sign is gone completely. No exit sign. And I was like, well, that's weird. So then I think maybe did I duck under the curtain in a weird way? So I put my arm down, go to flip up the curtain like I would normally when I'm like anybody trying to go out from under a curtain. I don't feel a curtain. I just am shrouded in black. So I turn around immediately thinking, oh, wow, like what theater am I in? Did I go in the wrong theater? Like, what's going on? And I make a few more like hasty, whippy arm moves trying to find out where I am behind this curtain. And I can't see the exit sign. I can't see the little hallway corridor that you would walk down to get behind the screen. I can't feel any of the curtains. And I just felt the like heaviest sensation of dread. And I took a step back and I said, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And uh, I'm not messing with you. And when I took that step back and said that, I stepped back into that corridor and I could see the exit sign and I could see down the hallway. But I know 2 seconds before, when I was facing the other direction, before I turned around and stepped backwards, none of that was there. I was like, what the fuck? And I said, you know what? I'm not going to clean this one by myself. I'm going to go get somebody else.
So can you tell us what you think, what was that?
So when stuff like that happens, I tend to think it's a darker thing. Whether it's whatever it is intelligent. Whatever it is has a level of intelligence that is manipulating the environment, that has enough power, whether it's due to fear, whether it's due to the energy because there's so many people coming in there, whatever it is, whether it's the electricity because it's a movie theater, whatever happens, they I think they use whatever powers they have. But because that one tended to scare people more, and people that had comments, like my sister's story, she said the thing that she saw looked at her and it looked like an animal, and it just made a like hideous face at her. And like I said, my sister and I have seen the same stuff most of our lives, so I trust that if she saw it, she saw it. And it was the same theater, so I kind of trust that maybe it was something a little bit darker, but I don't have an answer. And whenever I went in that theater, for any other reason, I usually tried to do whatever I had to do quick enough and not find out.
So did you have any other spooky, ooky issues with that specific theater, or
Oh yeah,
that
all the
was
time.
like your okay?
All the time. And it almost a regular occurrence. Like when you're in the projection booth, like one of the things that like people always think is like, and this is like a movie theater insider thing, when you're in the projection booth, like when you're looking up at it from the theater, you're always like freaked out that you're going to see somebody or you're going to see something. Very rarely does that happen because we're not standing anywhere near the like that window. And if we are standing near that window, there's a reason for it, and usually nobody's in there. So like there's nobody in the theater, so we wouldn't, or we're checking to see if somebody's in the theater. So like chances are it's right before your movie's getting ready to start anyway, and we're trying to decide whether we need to run it or not run it. And uh I was going to look through the window for that very reason to see if anybody was in this theater, and there was somebody up under like just the very top row underneath the window. So I looked down a little bit further, trying to see if I could see how if it was more than one person. And I took a step back, and then I realized that person looked like they had on either a hood or they just were like a black mass. And then I was like, did I see what I thought I saw? So I looked back over again and there was nobody down there. So I called, hey, did we sell tickets to whatever theater 9 is what it was. I was like, did we sell tickets to whatever was in theater 9? And somebody came across the radio and they were like, not yet. And I was like, well, that's weird because I think somebody was in there. Maybe they're in the wrong theater. So then I looked through the window, and then there was somebody sitting in like the front corner, almost before like you would step down the stairs to be on like the flat ground. And I was like, I know for a fact somebody was sitting there because I looked down, and I was like, I'm going to start it because it looks like somebody's in there, and maybe they got like a pre-sale ticket, or maybe they like are just trying to sneak in or waiting for somebody. What, I have no idea. So while we're figuring that out, I was like, I'm just going to start it because it's supposed to start. And then as soon as the lights come on for the projector and the light in the theater changes, there's nobody in this theater, nothing. And I was like, what the hell? So that was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't the story. You got a bonus one there. My next story, and this one is probably the one that like sits with me the heaviest, literally. And I called Courtney, and I literally was like terrified, like pulled the covers up over my face and laid there for probably a good 20 minutes. And this, mind you, this was when I was like 18, 19. So like it was, you know, I wasn't a child or a kid. I was grown in my own apartment. And yeah. So that old man that I referenced before, that I said just does weird shit and shows up in weird places like over lamps. My bed, kind of like the foot of the bed was in line with the closet. So if you're laying there and you're looking towards your feet, you'd be looking at the closet. I didn't have the closet doors. I had them or open because it provided like more space that way where I can like kind of use it as like overflow, I guess. So I'm laying in bed and I happen to look up at the top shelf and his face is just hovering over the stuff on that top shelf, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, oh my God. And then as I like processed what I saw, I looked at my door and then looked back and I could see him, you know, shoulders emerging almost like a kid coming out. Like I could see him. So I pull the covers up over my face and I was like, I don't know if I don't want you here. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but like, I don't want you here. And then the next thing I know, the foot of my bed sinks down and I can feel the weight transfer at my feet to the point where I pulled my knees to my chest and was like, I laid there for probably a good 20 seconds before I moved again. And the feeling that I got was, I'm sorry. And then the bed shifted and I was like, I'm not moving these covers because I don't know where this thing is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. And like I said, I laid there for like probably 20 minutes before I moved the covers from my face to like finally get up. And I immediately called Courtney and was like, oh my God, that like this thing just happened. And yeah, so that was a fun experience.
Goosebumps. I will let you know, as somebody who has been very vocal about being like, you know, not really quite sure that, you know, these things are a thing. However, that 100% gave me goosebumps. Didn't like that. No,
yeah,
don't like that.
Like I said, that one is my like that I don't tell very many people that story because it sounds so outlandish. The movie theater one sounds outlandish, and that sounds like I'm just crazy. But like this sounds so outlandish that like I often think people are going to be like, well, there's nobody there to substantiate that. Nobody was there to like see it. So like, I don't know that I believe you, but it is still just as vivid of a memory now. And I'm 34, about to be 35. So like almost 15 years of, of that memory. So yeah, no, not that one. Like I said, I know the face. I've seen it before, and that I've never felt his physical like presence like that, and that scared me. And then when he realized how scared I was, he washed over me with a I'm sorry feeling and then disappeared. And really, I don't know that I've seen him a ton since then. Like I feel like that was probably the last time I saw him as like vividly, thinking back about it. So I wonder if in that moment he was like, oh shit, I done fucked up, let me leave this man alone. So
oh, scared Matt. Oops.
Yeah. My bad, homie, my bad. But yeah, so that's the scary stories for this one. Hopefully that one sits with you pretty good, and it being spooky season and the last week of Halloween or last week of October, you enjoy that story. I know in July it's probably a little bit different.
I really hope that we have some of our listeners use the link in the description, shout out, to call us and like tell us their scariest ghost stories, because I like, you know, I can appreciate a scary story. I absolutely just got goosebumps with all of that, you know, that you just told me. I don't know if I just have never had an experience happen to me, or if I've just never been like open to them happening, because I've just been so in my head and like buried in trauma responses for most of my life. But like, I don't know. I'm very interested. Maybe I'll just like go out and do a little ghosty hunt and see if I can like open, because there are, like I'm about to talk about, there are some haunted spots here in St. Louis. So
there you go. The fall's coming up. It's about that time. So, but with no more further ado from me and wasting time, What you got? What are these stories?
Okay, so this is from Haunted Rooms. They are a blog that kind of goes over ghost hunts and ghost stories. So this is according to them, these are the 6 most famous ghost stories ever. They're the most famous ghosts in the world. Ready?
In the world. So we're
Okay,
talking
so first,
Spain, Jamaica, Switzerland, and Australia. Did I say
yeah,
Australia?
yeah.
There you go.
Although I actually don't think that there's those countries on this list. But hey, let's take a deep dive and see if I can find one. Okay, so first most famous ghost story is shout out to SpongeBob. It is the Flying Dutchman. It's not a human ghost, but the Flying Dutchman is one of the most famous hauntings of all time. It dates all the way back to the 17th century, which I did not know. But the Flying Dutchman was doomed to be swallowed by the seas once the captain refused to turn back towards safer waters during a rough storm. His passengers and his crew begged the captain to take them to safer seas. He refused. He thought he'd be able to take his ship through the storm. The ship was taken down, and the Flying Dutchman is seen at sea either as a light or as a somewhat translucent image, and brings with it a sense of doom. Moral of the story: don't mess with the sea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really obviously don't really know too much about ghosts or ghost stories. The only thing I could think of when I was thinking about this was the Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob.
Yeah. I didn't go there, but at the same time, I didn't know the story behind that, so that's cool. That was one I know of the Flying Dutchman, but I didn't know what had like I knew it was a doomed ship and it was like a ghostly ship now, but I didn't know.
It's because the captain just didn't want to ask for directions and thought he knew what was going on.
Shade.
All right, so number 2 is it's actually a photograph. It's the Brown Lady. It is one of the most famous ghost photographs in existence. She appears in a photograph taken at Raynham Hall in Norfolk. She's known as the Brown Lady because she's most commonly seen in a heavy brown dress, but this picture shows her as a translucent white figure in a hooded robe. There are only theories about who the Brown Lady is, but the most common theory is that she is a woman whose name was Dorothy Walpole, who was married to Viscount Charles Townshend. She died in 1726 under what many people now believe to be mysterious circumstances.
Well, number one, I assume when you said Norfolk, you meant like Virginia, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like that's one of those 13 colonies again coming back that like that's one of those stories that like I actually like have heard before. I didn't know the details about it, but I have heard of the brown woman, and that's the thing that like that there is like, decent lore, especially on like museum-y like field trips and stuff where people are like, trying to scare you. And in Virginia and Maryland and all those areas, there's so many of those. So that's cool. I'm glad one from somewhere, even though I don't like Virginia, or from somewhere are making this list. That makes me happy. I'm excited.
Yeah, this picture is pretty freaky.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, I'll send you the picture for sure.
Yeah.
But the picture is very like detailed. Like you can definitely tell it's a woman wearing a dress. She's got a hood on. She's just taking a stroll down the stairs. So
yeah, we'll post these on our social when we do the post for the episode. So
absolutely,
you can listen and then go find it and then like it and share it and whatnot.
So number 3, one I have actually visited, is the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, in Estes Park, Colorado. So some of the most famous hauntings and ghost sightings have happened and been seen in the Stanley Hotel. Famously, was the inspiration for Stephen King's The Shining. The staff at the hotel claim to have heard music and a commotion in the ballroom in the middle of the night, and they've walked in and it's been completely empty. Children are heard racing through the halls, and guests have reported seeing ghostly figures walking around their rooms. Room 407 of the Stanley Hotel is specifically thought to be the home to Lord Dunraven, who used to own the land on which the hotel is built. He's often blamed for any jewelry that goes missing, and for a large amount of activity that occurs on the fourth floor. So I have been to the Stanley Hotel 3 different times. Probably the last time that I went was really the only one that I got like a weird vibe. They have a whole, they have like a gift shop. They've got obviously the hotel rooms. They've got the ballroom. They've got other things down in the basement. They actually have a little like museum area thing where they share some of the movie props, some of the fun facts behind the movie, because The Shining was actually filmed at the Stanley Hotel. But the only time I ever got a weird vibe from it was we were standing out in the front courtyard, because there's a little courtyard with like a little tiny little maze, like a shrubbery maze, some really cool stonework, and just you can just walk around this little like garden area. And it felt like I was nervous to like look up to the windows, because I felt like if I looked up at the windows, I would just see a face looking down at me. But I don't know how much of that was actually spooky and me just being an idiot, you know?
Those are always fun. When you brought that up, and obviously your first thought is like the Shining. It made me segue from The Shining. I don't know if you've watched it with your kids yet or not, but Cars on the Road. It's like a little like mini series for cars, like Lightning McQueen cars, and there's a Shining episode, and I just remember watching it being like, this is so funny but so accurate at the same time. And like, I don't like my kids, obviously, as like their parents have a 12-foot skeleton outside their house or like into spooky stuff like that, so to them it was just normal. And I was like, this is so funny, because I bet you there's so many kids like, what is this? And then parents are like, oh, it's the Shining. So yeah, it's good.
I have actually watched that with Ava. She likes it. She likes cars.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, the Barini haunting. So I did some additional research about this one, because there's not a ton of information on here. But starting in the late 1970s, the Barini haunting occurred in the residence of Joe and Rose Barini with their 2 children in New England. Shout out, like you said, right? The 2 children were from Rose's previous marriage, so Joe was not their actual birth father. And in 1979, they were visited by a ghostly young girl who claimed that her name was Serena. Neither Joe nor Rose knew of a Serena in their family. They were puzzled by the visit, and although it was not without consequence, because shortly afterwards, their daughter Daisy nearly died during an operation to have her tonsils removed. These spooky visits from childish ghouls and unfortunate events in the life of the Barini family became more common, with events culminating in Rose levitating out of her bed, and the family finally had to have 2 exorcisms before they were left in peace. Oh. So I did some additional research about this one, just because this one, like with Rose and levitating and whatever, all of it, it kind of sounds similar to St. Louis. But Barini is not actually the family's real name. That is the pseudonym that was given to them, because it was an actual family, and researchers, I guess the family didn't want to be known for that. But this doesn't give as much detail. There were, it sounds like all of the events and the like supernatural things, the paranormal things that were happening inside the house were all the ghosties trying to kick them out of the house. Like they were trying to run them out of the house. So that is the Barini haunting.
That's gnarly. I'm glad I haven't had to deal with anything like that. Like I've never been kicked. I've been scratched a couple of times, but I've never been kicked. I've never been like pushed downstairs. I've never been like anything like that. Like, and that to me, those kinds of hauntings where it's like chasing you out of the house, you know, it's so bad you can't like sleep or live there, you know, that stuff's no bueno, no good.
Did you just say you got scratched?
I have been scratched before. I've been scratched a couple times. And most of the times I've been scratched have been in places that like, so like I haven't been scratched in my home, but I've been scratched at places like, I'm trying to think of it, like the last time I was scratched. 'Cause the first time I was really young, so I don't remember. I know we were at a funeral home, but I don't know whether it was at the funeral home, whether it was at the like cemetery. I just know it was at some point in time I had a long scratch down my forearm, but there was no way to like there was not like I was maybe like 5, so there's like I would have cried if I had known I got that scratch
I
anytime
don't
during the
like
day.
that,
Yeah.
Matt. Come on.
But yeah, I can't think the last time I got scratched. I wish I could remember where I was. It was I'm pretty sure it was at a church, or it was at like something that was a church and was like converted into like a reception hall or something. But I just all I remember is coming home, kind of similarly coming home and taking off like nice clothes, like unbuttoning my sleeve, and I had like 2 scratches up my forearm, and same forearm actually. Now that I think about it, but it's like, nope, I don't know what did that, but I also know that I'm wearing like a dress shirt, and if something had like caught my arm that hard, this shirt would have moved with the sleeves and caught my watch, and it did not. So
I don't like that, Matt. Oh, I'm gonna like, I don't like this. This is freaking me out. Okay, we're almost there. Number 5. I'm freaking myself out right now. Maybe I don't know.
Turn on
Okay.
cars.
So number 5 is the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. It is home to some of America's most famous ghost sightings. The house took 38 years to build under the guidance of ghosts and ghouls. Instead of using architects to help with planning and design, Sarah Winchester, who was grieving after the death of her husband, asked for the help of a medium. He told her that he and her daughter had died due to a curse on the family because too many people had died at the hands of the Winchester gun. Oh, these are related to people. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's a widow and she married into this family. And here she is getting haunted because her in-laws or somebody else invented the Winchester gun. That's insane. Sarah had to move, and not only that, but she had to build a house specifically for the spirits. She couldn't just build a house for them. If she ever stopped building, the curse would get her too. So for this house, a bell tower was added to summon and dismiss the spirits. A seance room was added to speak to the spirits directly and speak to her husband. The house is known as the Mystery House. Tours are still given there today because there's a super odd layout and was specifically designed, I guess, to trick bad spirits and keep Sarah safe from the curse. Hallways doubled back on themselves, doorways dropped down to nowhere and led to windows, stair posts were installed upside down, and everything in the house had 13 of something. 13 stairs, 13 panes of glass, 13 windows in the 13th bathroom. Whether she thought using the number 13 would keep her safe from demons or not remains to be seen, but it is still a fascinating house. Not only that, but all the summoning of spirits reportedly means that the house is brimming with paranormal activity. Organs are said to play of their own accord. Hate that. And there are cold spots throughout the house. Voices are heard with no explanation for their origin, and there have even been sightings of spirits throughout the house. So shout out, if we have any listeners in San Jose, California, please go look at this crazy house. I'm looking at a picture of it right now, and it does look kind of bonkers. Like, I'm looking at the outside of a house that I would have zero guesses of what the inside of it would look like. There's just all kinds of crazy stuff. So I don't know. The skeptic in me believes, reading this one, I was like, oh, okay. So this medium swooped in and took advantage of this grieving medium and was like, oh, nope. Got to charge you for a couple hour here and there. And then let's plan this wonky hallway that's going to double back on itself. So I don't know. I am skeptic, but if it's still like open and there are still tours given out, then maybe there would be more updated reports of paranormal activity to change my mind on that one. So that's number 5.
I've actually heard of that one, and I couldn't remember when you started talking about it. It sounded familiar, and then you started talking about the way the house is designed inside, and I instantly remembered it. That's one of those ones that, like, if I remember, she like increasingly went crazy as she was building it, and they don't know whether that's what like caused her to build the house the way that she did, is that she was going crazy and like in the process of going crazy, and like skeptics have said that like that's what it was, is that she was just having dementia, so when she was telling people what to do, it wasn't ghosts. It was just her dementia telling her to do these things that were like to everybody else like insane. But also supposedly that one I'm pretty sure was built on like limestone, and that's a big that's a big thing that like traps spirit energy. So like that's the thing that I'd have to look into more, but I'm pretty sure they said it's built like the foundation is limestone, and that was part of it. But again, back then, who knows what the hell they were using to build stuff.
So also apparently 2018 there was a movie about the Winchester house that came out called Winchester. Helen Mirren played Sarah.
Oh, interesting. Now I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Shout out Helen Mirren.
I think this is the second time we've mentioned Helen Mirren on the show, which is crazy. I think so. I'm pretty sure. I think this might be the third time, honestly, because I know we did it. I'm pretty sure we said it in the Uniscorn episode with Kate, because we were talking about how she just probably came out as a badass actress. But I'm pretty sure this is like weird, like weird moments. Crazy.
I'm trying to pull up her IMDb to see if there's other movie that I can think of that would have discussed about Helen Mirren. What did we talk about her?
I don't know. I can't remember why it came up, but yeah, I like her. I think that is a good actress, but also like what a weird role for her. And if that's what she chose to do, it must be good. I wouldn't imagine her doing something that just like she didn't throw herself into and act really well.
Don't sing her praises too quick. Apparently she was in that god-awful remake of the Shazam movie that came out or is coming out this year or came out this year or something. I don't know. I didn't hear any good things about it, but whatever. What do I know? You're the movie.
Like the Shaquille O'Neal Shazam remake thing? Is that what you're talking about?
No, this is Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Oh, that's not a remake. It's a sequel to that superhero movie.
Oh, JK then. Ignore me completely. Yeah, I have no idea what I thought.
I was like, wait, did they remake that? Because that's terrible. But no, that makes sense.
We'll still shout out to Helen Mirren.
Yeah, you're right. Go check out the movie. And if you happen to be listening to this, we enjoy your work. You did not act in a terrible remake of the Shaquille O'Neal movie. Yeah,
someday when Helen Mirren is listening to our podcast. Shout out.
Yeah.
All right, so number 6, last one is no surprise to anybody. It is Alcatraz. Super famous ghosts and ghost stories there. First hauntings were reported in 1857 while men were still being imprisoned there. One of the most notorious stories was reported back in the 40s when a figure dressed in clothing from the 19th century haunted cell block D, which contained an isolation cell. So one inmate pled with guards one night. He was being attacked by the ghost. He was screaming, crying, begging, pleading for him. He fell silent one morning, and the guards finally went in to check on him, and it was found that he had been strangled to death in a way that he could not have possibly inflicted upon himself. And then he became one of Alcatraz's many ghosts, apparently.
Yeah.
So, again, over the years, reports of cold spots, injuries on guards and inmates at the hands of an unseen and unknown entity, howls and screams, and much more have been reported at Alcatraz, making it one of the spookiest spots in America and well deserving of a spot on this famous ghost sightings list. I know you can still go and get a tour of the facility, and I think that they might still do some ghost hunting stuff there. But yeah, so I did shout out to STL. I can't talk about super ghosty things without talking about The Exorcist. Based here in St. Louis. It was a family that lived here it inspired a novel, LOL, that was later turned into a movie, but the actual haunting took place in 1949 and centered around a teenage boy who has never actually been identified. But yeah, so there were unexplainable sounds. If you've never seen the movie, please go watch it because it is a pretty decent and very classic horror movie. Do not be 8 years old when you watch it for the first time like I was. I had some older cousins that allowed me to watch it, and I was so scared. I was literally gagging from fear. I was so scared. Oh my God. So they started hearing water dripping in their home. The family found no leak. They began to hear other sounds like scratching, claws. They called in pest control, never found anything. New noises began growing, and they were more intense in Robbie's room, the teenage boys. Family heard squeaking shoes and then footsteps. During one episode, the boy and his grandmother, so somebody else saw it and could attest that it was a thing, saw a picture of Jesus Christ hanging on a wall begin to shake. Robbie's mattress began shaking, and the bed covers flew out from beneath the mattress. At school, the boy's desk began sliding into aisles, banging into the desks of other students. Coat hangers, books, and fruit flew across the rooms to land near the boy. So it was like following him. It was not just static at the house, which is not, I don't believe, is part of the movie. Speaking of injuries, Matt, hate it. Robbie, his mother, and grandmother felt a claw-like sensation running along the underside of his mattress. During an early visit from a local priest, Robbie began to speak in Latin, a language that the boy had not even studied. Eventually, scratches appeared on the boy's arms, legs, and chest, sometimes forming letters, but not recognizable words until the events of the exorcism, in March and April of 1949. So again, all of these things were seen by other family members. When the priest actually did come and try to do a exorcism, a local Lutheran minister showed up. The reverend witnessed the boy's bed shake, witnessed dishes fly through the air and furniture move of its own accord. Even after inviting Robbie to stay at his own home, like the reverend invited the boy to go and stay at the reverend's house to help alleviate some of it, the bizarre events continued and escalated. The minister suggested that they turn to the Catholic Church. The church offered the family holy water and blessed candles for use in their home if the events began again. When Robbie's mother attempted to use those items as they were instructed by the bosses at the church, the holy water flew across the room, and the candles either blew out of their own or their own flame shot up dangerously. Spooky. So, let me see here.
All I want to say is that, like, at least this is the last episode for this, so we'll start getting back on normal, so you can start sleeping again.
Please, I hate it. This is awful. Okay, so according to a diary kept by the bishop that actually came in and did the exorcism, the priests prayed. Robbie's reactions became extreme. The bishop noted in his diary that the prayers of the exorcism were continued, and R was seizing so violently he began to struggle with his pillow and the bed clothing. The arms, legs, and head of R had to be held by 3 men. This is a teenage boy, so this is, one teenage boy versus an adult. Like 3 adults is not a weak ghosty demon. Yeah.
Demon, yeah.
The contortions revealed physical strength beyond natural power. The teenage boy spit at the faces of those who held him and those who prayed over him. He spit at the relics in the priest's hands. He fought and screamed in a diabolical, high-pitched voice. Bishop reported that a picture of the devil appeared on the boy's leg. On another, the word hell manifested on his chest. The boy punched the reverend in the face, breaking his nose, and resisted the right through the cursing, speaking in tongues, and by other physical means. So, apparently Robbie, on Easter Monday, April 18th, 1948, awoke in a fit at the Alexian Brothers hospital. The priest followed him to the hospital and continued the exorcism. The exorcist then demanded to know the name of the demon possessing Robbie. Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave the body in the name of Dominius immediately. Now. And then moments later, Robbie woke up.
Ooh.
So, I did not actually know before I started doing all this. Obviously, the exorcism is a little girl. And the actual events that occurred here in St. Louis were of a teenage boy. So, you know, based on the true story of doesn't always translate super well. But yeah, Robbie, apparently after the exorcism, he and his family returned home and he grew up to marry, start a family, and have a successful career. He has never, reports suggested that he had never spoken about the events of The Exorcist or been troubled by anything similar to it in more than 70 years.
Oh, wow.
So shout out Robbie.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But some of the Jesuits that were involved in the exorcism were somehow tied to the same church that founded St. Louis University, SLU, which is a Jesuit college university. So, fun fact, a little crossover in your education there.
Not to like alarm you, I guess, but we're talking about this and it's so funny. But I'm like I told you before, everybody's gone from my house, nobody's here right now, and my dog doesn't ever bark at anything. And he started barking just now, and I was like, "What is he barking at?" And I was like, "Oh, maybe Courtney came home early." So I just pulled out my phone to look at the like camera we have in our living room, like that, so we could check in on the girls when we're not home. And it's like, no, unless she's in another room or something. I don't. That doesn't seem like she's home. And I don't. Like I said, he could be barking at like whatever, something like bumped the door, the wall, or the window or something. But like legitimately, dude does not ever bark. Like he's one of like the first dogs I've ever known. Like he'll bark at the dark and he'll bark at the wind outside, but like when he's inside, he very rarely barks unless somebody's like in the house. So that was a little
I don't
alarming.
like that, Matt.
I don't like it either. That's why I had to share. And he's on the complete other side of the house from me for a reason. So like we don't hear him barking while we're recording. So like the fact that I could hear him was like, man, he's actually like barking, not just like making noise. And my cat is away, so he's not getting jacked with by her because she's a jerk. But yeah, I don't know. That was interesting. I love that it was the culmination of your story.
Some of my like, I don't know, pessimism about hauntings is perhaps because I grew up watching, maybe like kind of Scooby-Doo, maybe attributed to this, but playing and reading Nancy Drew games. I was a ravenous reader of Nancy Drew mysteries when I was growing up. And my friend Kayla and I, we always got together and played the computer games. We loved playing them together. And in all the Nancy Drew games, all of the hauntings are not necessarily like paranormal activity. So I don't know. I just had that thought that like maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, when you were talking about like when you're telling the story just now, I had the thought, and I was going to write a note, but I knew I was going to remember it, so I didn't even need to. But do you think that you being an analyst and you being so like fact oriented, just as not only an individual, but also like as a like taught subject, do you think that that plays a part in your skepticism about everything, not just specifically this, but like you need more fact, not only because you were trained to look for facts and look for absolutes, but like because it's a thing that you sought out?
I have never even considered that, but 100% believe that's probably got something to do with all of it. Like, yeah. I don't know if it was something with like I'm just in a job and went to school for things like if you hear hoofbeats, think zebras, not horses, that kind of mentality. So I don't know. That is a super interesting point that you bring up. And yeah, I am going to ponder that probably for the rest of the evening. So thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's interesting. Like your outlook and perspective is good, and that's what, like I said, I'm glad that you're a skeptic. I don't know what we're going to do for next Halloween, and that's forever away, but like I hope we're still doing episodes and we can come up with something just as fun as this time. I'm happy with what we did, and hopefully you listeners out there were happy. And legitimately send in your ghost stories. If you got like nightmares or like ghost stories or anything, please send them in, because like I think that would be so amazing to hear. And I know I said, hey, be happy that this is like done and we're done with this, but like if you send it in and you want us to play it, like let us know, and we'll show your story in a later episode. But yeah, also for you, you did this entire episode, but it's that time. You gotta that's what she said. Or
My
was this
That's What She
episode?
Said for this episode, the very last of our spooky ooky Halloween series. Yeah, it's mostly stemming from my idiocracies of like motherhood and what I struggle with motherhood. And we live in a giant subdivision. And I know that for me, when we are leading up to some kind of event, it's super easy to just get lost in the, oh shit, okay, I need to get candy. Is this enough candy? What time are all the trick-or-treaters going to be done? Like, when should we be doing this and this, that, whatever? And every year we do like a fire pit in our driveway. And I'm always so anxious about it because I'm just terrified that children have fallen in it, and they never have. But if you are also doing that, take some time, especially around Halloween, especially around the holidays that are about to come up too, and be present for those moments. Like I last year had a not even 1-year-old who was being very cute and just helping pass out candy just because she saw her parents doing it, mostly her dad doing it, and wanted to help. So she just started picking up gobfuls of candy and walking them up and giving them out. And yes, I remember it, but I wish I would have had more vivid memories about it, and less about that and more about like more of that and less of oh, where did I get all the candy from and how much money did we spend on candy and planning all the things and planning outfits and costumes and this, that, whatever. When the planning is done and over with and you've done all you can do and your event starts, really try to make an effort to be present for that moment, because that moment will never happen again.
Yes.
And that's what she said. And now I have no idea what my 2-year-old is going to be dressed up as, but it's probably going to be something fun.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good message. And for everybody out there, tomorrow is Halloween. When this episode drops, it will be on the 30th. So the 31st is tomorrow. So that is good advice to be given right now. Be present tomorrow. I know that like my goal in life is to be as present as possible with my girls, because I wish my parents were. And no matter what, how much money they made, no matter how much, how much whatever they thought they were given, I would have much rather, had them present and celebrating Halloween with me, and, not worried about and stressed about all the other things. So that is the perfect message for tomorrow being All Hallows Eve. And if you're listening to this and you got kids and you want to you know, do something extra for them. Like make them feel like this Halloween is different than all the other Halloweens. Cause like, not only do I get to dress up, not only is this Halloween, but my parents are actually like excited for me. So be excited for them.
Absolutely.
Wrapping up the Halloween stuff. I just, like I said, I'm super excited with what we were able to do with such a small like concept. The concept was I'll tell 2 spooky stories, and we'll try and make it on brand for what we do here. And I think we were able to accomplish that. So yeah.
It's fun. We'll just put our heads together and see what we decide to do for Christmas.
Yeah, no, that's I know. I will tell you, I guess we can flash forward to that a little tiny bit. I'm going to try and spotlight some small businesses. So, if you're listening to this now, be thinking about that. We're always down to support people who are trying to follow their dreams. So if you want to do an interview to get the word out about, like your company, the things that you want to do because you're following your dreams, not just because you want to like sell product, because I'm never going to put you on here if you're just here to sell product. I want people that like are inspired and inspiring, because that's what we do here. That's what we want to do is, give a little bit back. And, like I said, I think that with all of the things that we did, all the spooky, I want to wrap this up with a very nice story just for you. So you go to bed with not a story of Matt scared and, whatnot. I want to just say how easy it is to do kind. You don't have to do anything crazy. It can be really simple. Today, lady was struggling to bend over to get something off the bottom shelf at the store because it was all the way at the back. And I said, do you need something off the bottom shelf there? And she said, yeah. And I got down on my hands and knees, reached to the back of the shelf on the bottom, and pulled out the, package of coffee that she was trying to get to. And she said, you didn't have to do that. I said, I know, that was the point. I didn't have to, I wanted to. And then I handed her a coffee and went on my way. And it just struck me as so sad that, like, that's what we are as a society. Be nice, do kind, make sure that, like, you're out there giving back. Don't just sit there and be like, take. F you, I'm gonna get mine.
It costs $0 to not be an asshole. So, moral of the story.
Yeah, done. Love you guys. Bye.
We'll see you next week.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.